Welcome everyone to Growth Mind State. I'm Anthony Thompson, and this is Robert.
How you doing, Robert?
Say hello.
How's everybody? I'm good. How are you?
It's important to say, how are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Happy New Year. Super happy. You know, it's great to see 2021. Hopefully
exactly.
A change. Hopefully a big change.
I'm gonna go first off and ask you how your holiday was. How was the week?
It was great. Aside from on Christmas, I spent time with my mother and my sister and everybody, and then we came back. It's just crossed over to New York. I'm in Jersey, so it wasn't a big trip or anything like that. I usually go over there to help them anyway, so it's not like hopefully I'm not adding to the contagion or whatever, But we're good. It was just amongst us, and we had Teresa made my mom dinner, which was great. And we had a great time, and then we came back and we slept over, and then we came back the next morning and spent the rest of the time, New Year's Day here with Teresa's family and everything. And then New Year's, just kept it simple and just kept it here. We had a couple of drinks, had some food, and celebrated. Hopefully this is a new beginning. I'm hoping that at the end of the day that this is a new beginning. I'm not gonna deny the fact that I was a little down. The holidays always get me a little bit down, but I can't complain. It was a great experience because family and everything. So I can't complain. How was yours?
It was okay. It was quiet. My family came by and dropped off some stuff from Christmas on the 26th, and from there, we're very much like everybody has been either working or has been working in a important field, so they can't see each other. So we very much had to keep ourselves separate from each other. So like this was the first time I've hugged my mom since February of last year, near her birthday. I think I hugged her on her birthday last year. And that was so that's just a context. Like we've been, and that's almost maybe too much context because unfortunately, though I know this is not how it works, but my aunt has COVID and just was diagnosed with COVID yesterday, 2 days ago. So, I mean, my dad is feeling sick, though he doesn't have the same symptoms. So hopefully it's just the flu. It's just one of those things where like they're in high impact fields. One is in engineering and one is in hospital works. So they're just in high impact zones. And my brother is in therapy in college, so he's in some contact with people.
Yeah, it's
so it's just interesting because
Yeah, it's all over the
Yeah.
place. I'm hearing a lot of people. I spoke to somebody today who said they recently contracted it, and I was like, wow. You know what I mean? Like it's like a lot of people, and some people are getting very little symptoms. Thank God. You know, a lot of them are getting very mild symptoms. I know somebody who's a family, not my family, but a family's extended family type of situation where they're in a situation right now where the person's not doing too well and they're having what is it, not side effects, what's the word, complications, you know what I mean, with
Mhm.
some of the stuff, it's starting to attack different organs and stuff, which is sad, I don't know. I just hope it gets better this year, man. Like it's not over yet. It's not totally over, but in what is it? 17 days. Hopefully, we'll at least be one president down and a new president in. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking forward to.
I
But
mean, that's interesting because we should be. I wish that we had the information to talk about how Israel is doing really well with the vaccination, but we're not doing well with our rollout. Um,
yeah,
I've seen a lot of really good opinions, at least, especially from medical professionals, actually, who are saying that, like, basically this rollout could be on a much larger scale. It's just not being presented that way. Um, I think that's a bit of like Trump is not going to do anything while for the next 20 days. A mix of that and a mix of he doesn't want to be the one faulted for it. So
yeah.
no matter what, he's just going to wait it out until Biden is in office so that Biden can
He's
screw it up
promoting.
or do it well.
Yeah, he's
Either
promoting for
way.
his next election or whatever it is. He wants his image to
Yeah.
be clean when he leaves, even though
Yep.
he's doing some random stuff now with the election, saying that it's still fraud and everything. This guy's won't let it go, man. That guy's crazy. Um,
I mean,
but
we kind of talked about it a little bit off camera before about how how those 11 senators who are going against the electoral college is an insane ploy, and that we almost didn't we just didn't want to really cover it because it's just a ploy. It's not even a lane for them to really win. Like
yeah, yep, yep.
basically saying that electors will be disenfranchised is the worst idea I've ever heard. I've just never heard like somebody give a better like they want you to recount all these votes and put a halt on the transition. So like that's not how it worked when Bush and Al Gore happened. So
Yeah,
if we have to give a precedent to something, we have to give the precedent to what occurred. And
yeah,
it never would happen that way if it was a Republican. I feel like, and obviously they're preying on the fact that the Democrats are not strong enough to have that kind of ploy. They're not willing to come together and do that kind of. I mean, it's chicanery. It's bullshit. It's
yeah.
bullshit. I mean, there's no other
Basically.
way around it.
Yep, 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 yep. Yep. It's just I don't know. I just want it over with, man. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm done with all that crap already. It's gotten to the point where, it's getting old. It's getting played out. Let's move forward. But I can't control what these people do. They still have power. For now. But whatever. It is what it is. New Year's, right? Let's be positive. Like I said, a lot of people are down about things. I've had a couple of blessings. I got my sister's adopted child, came this year. There's a lot of things that were blessings that I'm not gonna look back at. Even 2020 wasn't. It was bad, but you got to look at the blessings. Look, we started a show during 2020. Maybe like the I'm gonna be positive about it. I'm not gonna let this crap get to me at this point. We got a good thing going, and hopefully we can help other people feel the same way. All this stuff is
But
just
let's
like brainwashing, and you know what I mean. Like I think at the end of the day, let me just finish this quick point. At the end of the day, I think all this stuff is meant to discourage people to having their own thoughts and positive moments in their lives, so that they can't move forward. This is crippling people. You know what I mean? And I think that if we could show people that it's all about the person's actions and how they handle situations, that we can maybe help them move forward and help ourselves move forward. At the end of the day, and I think we're gonna be okay. As long as we don't start another world war or some crazy stuff, I think we're gonna be okay. you know, but who knows with this dude? He still got 17
Well,
days.
I'm not worried about. Let's.
Yeah.
This is a great transition point because I'm not worried about 17 days from now. I'm actually worried about the Biden administration. But but it's mostly to remind people that what we just signed is not a human services bill. It's a
Yeah.
defense bill. That's
Yeah.
what I just wanted to transition to.
Yeah.
What we just signed is a defense bill. It's not a human services bill. It's just wrapped up in a whole bunch of other tape. So I think it's just really important to. I mean, we didn't even go into the breakdown of this, but let's transition to the U.S. Senate overrides Trump's defense of the bill veto, which is important. It's not like this defense bill should not occur. It's relatively important to understand that this happens every year for the last 60 years or so. So him holding the bill up is just a matter of getting what you want out of the bill. So I am 100% with the people who want $2,000 per person. I am specifically very much advocating for that, and I have no idea why it did not pass, other than honestly the investment class telling people, no, you'll inflate our budgets, you'll make it so that our value is not as high, and therefore doing this will not help us, so don't do it. Just extend the relief from the PPP and your unemployment benefits, and that's the only thing you need to do. I think Trump understands populism. Trump understands populism and wanted to go for that, and knew that that would be effective in getting people out in Georgia.
That's
So
what Obama did too. Obama and all these, they use like a lot of progressive thoughts and ideas, and they try to put it in their campaign or whatever they want to spew out there, and it helps them get popularity. But then later on, they renege on it. You know what I mean? And I feel like personally with this whole $2,000 that he offered was for his own benefit at the end of the day, and that he's not. I don't think he would have really. I mean, he might have stuck to it at the end of the day, but it seems like, you know, who knows, right? Like I think he ended up signing off for the 900 billion or whatever it was that they had for the $600 a week, $600 payments. I mean, which means like he actually gave in at that point, right? So was he really going to do the 2,000, even though they say that, I'm still down for it, and he didn't really yell and scream when they didn't do it, right? And now the Republicans are against it. He kind of knew the Republicans were going to be against it, in my mind. So I think that it's not going to go any further than what it is right now, at least for now. You know what I mean? Maybe when Biden comes in, it might change, but talk is cheap.
No,
man.
I don't. No, I only see I see a new bill maybe coming up at 1,200. Maybe I don't see another. Maybe 2,000 becomes the price point, which would be good. I don't see that. Mitch McConnell, like I have to give it to the fact that without winning Georgia or splitting Georgia, the Republican Senate is never going to pass anything that is going to be progressive or like paying out to people. You could actually even say that it's a liberal idea to pay people for their time out. Actually, if we get to it at some point, let me just talk about it specifically. On January 1st, the Senate votes to limit debate on the vote of the defense bill. The U.S. Senate 60 votes were needed, and they got 60 votes. They got an 81-13 vote. Actually, the only senators to really noticeably go against it were Bernie Sanders and Cory Booker.
Wow.
Just gonna throw that out there.
Jersey's own.
Cory Booker actually went against it. Didn't see that one coming. So yeah, let's give it up to the troll, Mitch McConnell. Let's go to that first video.
Okay, you want to go to the first video? Gotcha.
Yeah.
But last night, a big bipartisan majority of 80 senators voted to proceed. There should be nothing controversial about giving our brave men and women in uniform the tools and training they need to stay safe. There should be nothing controversial about continuing the work of rebuilding and modernizing our capabilities. It should be a nonpartisan proposition that America should keep pace with Russia and China rather than slip behind. We've enacted an annual NDAA for 59 straight years and counting. In the next few days, the easy way or the hard way, we're going to do our job once again. This body will fulfill our responsibility to the men and women who protect our country. So the Senate will be here until we finish this bipartisan legislation.
So the real point here is that it is a bipartisan defense bill legislation, and I just want to make it clear to everybody if they don't see it, like they are kind of gaslighting you with, if you don't pass this, he's gaslighting everybody on every end, but he's like, if you don't do what I say, we'll kill everyone because we already are in so many wars. You're gonna kill everybody because of it. So you better give us money right now. You better just do it now. And this is a bipartisan effort. We're all friends here. And I just hate to tell you that this is the war machine. Like, it's unfortunately the war machine. And I don't see this changing. This is, we wanted to title this, What Will Change and What Will Not Change in 2021, for the specific reason that, yes, this is a positive. We wanted it. I mean, if we didn't get $600, there's a lot of people who would just be starving.
They still are.
But
okay, yeah. like $600. I saw a thing on just a quick funny joke. It's not even a joke, but I saw a meme with like a Walmart thing. Oh, you guys are getting $600, and then they had the prices of all the TVs at like $599, $550. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff as a joke, because people are gonna either spend the money frivolously, not thinking, or that, at the end of the day, it's just not gonna last. It's just like something you could buy something small with, and I had to laugh at that. As sad as it is, $600 is nothing, bro. Like we spend that like every 2 weeks at minimal on food in this house. You know what I mean? Like, because of the fact that we have such a big family here. So I'm not saying we're not grateful that money came in, but that really doesn't amount to much at the end of the day. Like, that could be spent in a week, and what is it? 9 months? It's been 9 months since they gave us any payments. Yeah, that's gone. Yeah.
Somebody made a compelling argument that I actually agree with, so I'll just state it. So we need to organize outside the White House, says Mischievous Raccoon. So saying that, and all to take the L dance when Trump is leaving. So basically, yeah, I think we're all in actually agreement here. We do believe in organizing outside the executive branch and the legislature right now to try to find a way to help people. Unfortunately, I think we have the knowledge that the federal government is supposed to be assisting us at this point. They should have been doing it already. So we're fighting we know we're fighting an uphill battle. We're just trying to keep people talking about it, because I think there's a malaise that's going to happen when we get Biden in office. I just said it's a defense bill. It's not a bill for health and services, and we need to think about what we're going to do about this vaccine. How are we going to get it to people? I think that's a much more entrenched problem, and it sucks that we can't get standalone bills. We have to acknowledge that we're not getting standalone bills. So I just want to talk about it on every angle, because you're completely correct. We should be organizing and finding ways to help each other outside of there. And there's a lot of good churches. There's a lot of political organizations right now, especially in New York City. I don't know about Newark. Should ask about Newark.
Driven. We're gonna, like I said, I'm gonna bring in some people soon that we had spoken about the stuff going out here in Jersey and in Newark. The other thing I was gonna, of course, community driven stuff. I think at the end of the year, like 1 year of Biden's thing, I think people are gonna start really realizing, like, they think that Trump is gone. A lot of people think that since Trump is gone, everything's gonna get better all of a sudden or whatever. And unless Biden does something in his first year that's significant, right? They're going to realize we're all going to have to work together to get through this, because I really don't think much is going to change. I think we're going to have some stability in regards to like more educated people working on the process of making it better. But at the same time, like the war machine, like you said, and all the other stuff is still going to be there. The whole corporatist mentality that they have is still going to be there. The Senate is close to being lost. Hopefully, it won't be. But we'll see how it
We'll
turns
know
out. The,
soon.
the judges, yeah, it all depends. And like I said, the first year is going to be a defining year because if people don't see huge change in that first year, people are going to be pissed, and they're going to want to either do stuff with the community, or there's going to be hella lot of protesters and stuff in the streets. I think fighting to get whatever it is that they need. The Medicare for all stuff is a big thing. That fight for what
Force the
is it?
vote.
Force the vote, right?
Force the
That's a
vote.
big
Like,
thing. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. You
yeah,
were
I
saying?
mean, it's just interesting because we should talk about this, but I wanted to talk about it with more people. So Daniel might be a good person to talk about. So
Mm-hmm.
on Wednesday, our guest will be Daniel, who's a cook and etc. He's done multiple jobs, but is a cook is what he's doing now. So I feel like he has a lot of like very class argument kind of ways of thinking of the world. So that'll be fun to talk to you about. Um, just in general, this person has a really great point that our country we should have term limits of age too,
Mm-hmm.
because this president doesn't have the incentive of a two-term president. I think
People
that's
are
what they're trying to say.
Yeah, people are also clueless. Like these old fogies, I don't mean to insult all of them because some of them have good hearts. But a lot of them are just old fogies that don't have any idea what technology is capable of, the purpose of the technology that's out, why people are using it the way they are, and so on and so forth. So they don't see, like, they make opinions without actually having any idea of like the consequences of those opinions. Like, oh, Facebook does this and spies on you. Yeah, everybody does. Like if you look at, they don't know a lot of stuff. And if you have younger minds, more people that are kind of like on the level of what's going on in the now, you know what I mean? I think we would have better results in regards to things. We also need some, obviously, legacy people that know, I guess legacy might be a good word for it, that might know how to deal with things historically, you know what I mean? But we also need fresh eyes, you know what I mean? We need the fresh eyes in there and the fresh ears and the people that are kind of like more open-minded to other things, and right now we got like some closed-minded, like old, mean, grumpy old people, going on the verge of like, I don't want to say death because I don't want anything to
Well,
happen, but
no.
they're so
But here we
old.
go.
They're
We
like
should go to
80s and 90s, going in their 80s and 90s.
60s and
No,
80s and 70s. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I mean, it feels like it. Like the stuff that they say, it sounds like I'm talking to my grandmother or grandfather, and asking their advice about a computer or something. You know what I mean? It's like they can't grasp it. They don't understand the movements and the struggles that a lot of young people are going through right now, and
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
hurting
it
us.
literally the average age is 57.8, and
Yeah.
which why I just wanted to throw us off to Chuck Schumer because this is just the mindset. I just want to make sure people see that we're trying to talk about this as progressives, as this is a bipartisan effort to just make the middle of the road deal. And I know that most of us are smart enough to know that the progressives or the left kind of want that $2,000 because it's a good PR, and we need 2,000 for multiple months basically, and we need to start doing the rating at a little bit lower, and we should have that argument, but we're not even having that health argument. We're having it added to a defense bill just to force it through. So I just, yeah, let's throw it to Chuck Schumer.
It's the only way to get the American people the $2,000 checks they need and deserve. The House is gone for the session. Any modification or addition to the House bill can't become law. Either the Senate takes up and passes the House bill, or struggling Americans will not get $2,000 checks during the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. And Leader McConnell knows this. So he has said that the Senate can only vote on a bill that combines the checks with other unrelated partisan policies. Repeal Section 230, an investigation into the President's dishonest and bogus claims of election fraud. The Republican leader claims that President Trump insists that all three issues must be addressed in one bill. But of course, the President has made no such demand. President Trump couldn't care less about how the bills are packaged in Congress. So the Republican leader has invented an excuse to prevent a clean up or down, yes or no vote on $2,000 checks coming to the floor. This maneuver to combine all three issues is intended to kill the possibility of $2,000 checks ever becoming law. Just to prove it, let me make this offer to the Republican majority. We're willing to vote on the other issues that President Trump mentioned, all the issues the Republican leader says must be addressed, as so long as we vote on them separately. That way, $2,000 checks could become law, and we could debate all the President's supposed concerns. We can vote on setting up a commission to look at the President's roundly rejected claims of voter fraud. We'd also have the commission look at voter suppression and gerrymandering. That's completely unrelated to help Americans paying their bills. But we're willing to take a look at the whole picture. Just give us a vote on the House-passed bill so we can get help now to people who desperately need it.
Just the showboating, just how much showboating is happening there. That's actually, I hate to say there's somebody that's in the Twitch chat right now. So it's very interesting that they're talking about the basis of every government should be actively improving the conditions of its citizens, and also that it's stupid that we have to call ourselves progressives. So in a way, I agree with you. It's stupid that we've had to call this line here where we have to call ourselves progressives, but it's in a classic history of what progressives were to the 1900s and us trying to identify ourselves amongst us. So I think that's an unfortunate, that's just an unfortunate part of politics, is that you make groups amongst yourselves. It's sociology. It's trying to identify who is thinking in the same groups as you are, not to push them away, but more off to find who you can build with. Because it would be impossible to build with some of the people that I know that are from the South, who have very contrary, I would just call them conservative views. I would say that every little view is different. They're not a hardliner, but yeah, I wouldn't be able to build the same contingents. And I think it's just important to understand that this is like being called black. Being black is multiple things. I'm not just black, I'm Jamaican. I'm a firstborn Jamaican who was raised in New York and New Jersey. It doesn't, like that's going to be, if it's a Southern, if it's a Southern black person, we're going to have weird conversations. There's some stuff that culturally we have no identification with. And I find the same thing with progressives, as people who identify themselves as progressives. I would even say that I'm more of a socialist. I think Robert is, I don't know, what would you, ask you instead of presuming?
I usually label myself as a democratic socialist. So I guess I'm, maybe not as far left as because I believe in certain things, not far right, obviously, but excuse me. But I gotta hit the mute button next time. But I believe that everybody deserves a certain level playing field before that you can start criticizing people. Like until everybody's on a certain level where we can all start somewhere, we all have proper education, proper healthcare, proper a system that'll allow them to blossom into something. It doesn't have to be we're all gonna be millionaires. You know what I mean? It has to be something where it's, at least the standard of living is there so that they can do something. Because if you put somebody in a situation, throw them in the projects or throw them in an area where there's low income, a lot of crime, what do you think's going to happen? It's not going to get better. Things aren't going to get better for those people, and they're going to keep creating generations upon generations of that. You know what I mean? Which in my mind doesn't help anything. Doesn't help the rich. Doesn't help the poor. Doesn't help the middle class. At the end of the day, there's got to be a certain baseline for everybody, and it takes social programs, I believe, for that to happen. And of course, you got people that'll disagree with me, but in a perfect world, I feel like we would all be humans, right? We'd all be humans. We'd all respect each other. We'd all respect each other's culture. We would all help each other. We'd all be community driven. That's what Jesus is supposedly, right? Even though a lot of these conservatives claim to believe in God and everything else, that's what Jesus would have done. He would want everybody to be taken care of, for everybody to help each other. You know what I mean? And yet,
which is why we focus so much on the damn federal government, is because
yep.
these are the larger forms of that. Like,
Yep.
as much as we want to organize outside of this, like, you have to understand what your enemy is, and sometimes you're what is the system you're within.
Yep.
So you're almost fighting within a system.
I believe at the end of the day, I can't say everybody has good intentions, but the decent people out there, the quote unquote decent people, I think they all want a lot of the same thing, whether they're on the left, the right, center, whatever. You know what I mean? But because their base has made them believe things, or the media's made them believe certain things, automatically it's bad. Oh, communism's bad, or this is bad. There's certain things in every system that could be applied, that could be, it's all about taking things, adapting, molding it into something that helps other people at the end of the day. If you could create a capitalistic system that can help people, I got nothing against it. But from what I've seen in a lot of capitalism, it's like greed ends up taking over a lot of people's, thinking processes and how they do business and their intentions, and it screws people over. The reason why I lean left is because, in theory, their base is to help people, grassroots, community driven. I don't see that with on the other side. I see, fix your bootstraps, or do this or do that, and blah 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 blah. And at the end of the day, it doesn't seem to be telling people you should be doing this. It's not effective. Helping people do something, getting them in a position where they can start doing things for themselves is a lot better. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say give them everything, but I'm trying to say push them in a direction, give them a shove, give them a little push, help them find those resources that allow them to not be that criminal on the street that you're so worried about, and that you need the quote unquote cops to protect you from. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm getting wild with this. I'm getting wild.
No. So direct this a little bit. So what is your thoughts about how the society criminalizes the poor? I was going to go at the very end of this little. I'm just going to end snippet this little. In March, the Congress passed a law mandating that workers are able to draw 2 weeks of paid sick leave when they contract the coronavirus, or 2 weeks of paid leave to care for a quarantining relative, and up to 10 weeks of paid leave for family leave to care for a child whose school or daycare is closed for COVID-related reasons. That was 10 weeks of paid family leave. Mitch McConnell shut that down. So that's an open warfare to the poor right there.
Yep.
It's not even just the poor; it's just the working class, people
any
who
working
have
class,
middle class, any type. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on?
Well, one is counterproductive. You want to keep the economy going, you got to keep the people, in a situation where they can provide, right? Like if you spend the money on the food, the housing, getting to work, whatever it is, paying for daycare, all that other stuff, you need that money, right? But if somebody's sick and somebody throws like a wrench into your machine, you're screwed. Like any minor thing that happens in this situation screws people over. If you don't have the money or the resources, if you're not well off, like rich, or at least upper middle class, where you have some money coming in, like $60,000 a year plus, you know what I mean? In this environment, there could be huge, dramatic changes in your life, that can cripple you, make you homeless. God knows what. There's people starving. There's people on bread lines right now, and that's ridiculous for the richest country supposedly in the world. It shouldn't be that way. And for the fact that you're not willing to help these people find resources, like you have to give them something in order for them to find these resources, for them to keep transitioning and adapting to the situation. If you don't, it's like throwing a dog outside, right? It's like, well, I'm sorry, we have food in here that we could give you, but instead we're gonna throw you outside and let you figure it out. We're not gonna give you even a little bit to survive. So some people will adapt and they'll go out and they'll eat an animal or do whatever they got to do. And that's why I say crime happens and all that other stuff. I know these are kind of bad examples, but I think you kind of get the gist where I'm going with it, is that if you put somebody in a desperate situation, they're going to do desperate things, right? Or they're going to die trying, you know what I mean? Because they have no other choice at the end of the day. If you give somebody something, they'll find ways of doing it. Maybe like the dog situation isn't a good example, but that's, to me, how I feel when I see it. It's like you're throwing your dog outside in the middle, like abandoning your dog in the street because you're tired of the dog or whatever. That It's the same effect. You're putting them out there and hoping that somehow or another they find their way and all that. Pull your bootstraps up and do this, and you should have gotten a better education. I heard somebody say the other day, your job might be you might be fired from your job, or your job might not be there right now, but there's other jobs out there. Okay, so if you're making 30-40,000, not 30-40,000, but $30 to $40 an hour at your old job, now that job's not there, you're telling that same person with that certain lifestyle to adapt to a job that might be only paying $10 an hour. How the hell does that work? If you don't have the support for that? I'm not saying that you can't live off of $10 an hour, but you have family members and other people you got to provide.
No, you can.
Yeah. Well,
can't live off $15
I'm just saying.
You can barely live off $15. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to talk about that we're going to skip over because we have no need to see Mitch McConnell again, is that he was trying to make the narrative that the $2,000 checks are going to households that are at $75,000 or less. So basically they're trying to demonize people who earn $60,000 to $75,000, like that. Just and that's actually middle of the road in a lot of areas. New York and New Jersey, how much you're paying for your mortgage it's extreme in a lot of areas. I know my parents make more than that, and one of them just retired, so they will not be making more than that. When that tax return comes out next year, it's not going to be preferential for my family. I feel very lucky that they have been able to stay in the same job for 30 to 40 years, 35 years. So they're just lucky in a way. They've worked hard. They've done everything they've done, but they've never had something come up and just pop them out of their job. And they're lucky enough to have that not be their reality. So you have to have a system where if that happens to you, you can get on your feet again. That's what I believe. That's the socialist in me, is that I believe that we should have a system that fundamentally allows everybody to have at least a standard of living. So even to throw up, this person was a Yang supporter. I'm not even a huge Yang supporter, but I will give him that he wanted to have a honest discussion about the UBI, and that's a real discussion that we need to have one day, probably. Their automation and other things that we've talked about on the show already will contribute to probably less jobs at some point. I think that every person still deserves a standard of living. That's how I believe that the fundamentals that I was raised around. I know that it was very much the church. People should be taken care of. I don't think that they should not put in their weight if they can, but if you can't, you can't. That's how my life has presented itself.
It's rough, man. It's rough, man. I'm seeing a lot of people suffering. I'm seeing a lot of people losing resources that they used to have. I'm seeing a lot of people getting sick. I'm seeing a lot of things going on that are totally left field from what they were doing the day or weeks or months before that. That they're like, what the hell do I do? You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if and this is nobody's fault. I didn't ask for this. I didn't walk into a situation where I wanted to get a virus or for this virus to take over the city and shut everything down or make it harder for me to feed my child or anything or work or anything else. But yet we pay taxes, and then in the end of the day, they're what is it? I want to say harboring. What's the word? Hoarding our monies. That's what I was looking for. The other H word. They're hoarding our monies that we gave them for them to take care of and govern over, help us with whatever situations that we need. That I don't understand why we don't even vote what the money's used for. Why is it they get to vote for our money? You know what I mean? The money that kills me at the end of the day. We need this for the thing. I don't want a nuclear bomb to pay for a nuclear bomb. I want somebody to get health care. I want to get schools fixed. I want roads fixed.
You should watch City So Real if you haven't had the chance. It's about Chicago. So one of the candidates actually brought up they made a form, a tax form basically, that had all of the taxes for Chicago that you paid specifically. So that's like that's a kind of an innovative idea, at least, that like maybe, I don't know, we have to find a consistent group of people who are willing to do this to find out what the exact tax amounts from people are. I mean, you have to average it out probably per area because you probably can't get that exact data from the IRS. But wouldn't it be great if we had a really informative tax law where you know everything percentage wise that your taxes are used for? If it's just a percentage, it's just a percentage. If we can't get to as deep as the exact monetary amount, just tell me how much of the percent of my payment went to defense budget.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, you can make these large groups if you have to, but we have to start thinking out of the box. So, I mean, I would love an organization to do this. I know that they need IRS information, and that's kind of difficult.
Yeah.
But that'd be a great law to put in action, right? I don't know if that'll ever pass because it'll look like people will say you're going into their bank accounts. That'll be the next conspiracy theory. They're going into your bank account.
I just don't like my mother's friend. Like, I'm not gonna name names or whatever. When the Haitian earthquakes happened, I don't know if I told you this story. She gave money, wanted to give money to the people for to help with the causes there, and she said she wanted it specifically for certain things, and they denied her that. That's what it feels like to me when it comes to taxes. It's like when you give your taxes up, you want it to be for like the roads, you want it for the education, you want it for the things that are going to make your livelihood better, right? But then you're dumping bombs. Like, how many billions of dollars or trillions or whatever it is that we've spent dumping bombs and killing people and hurting others and crippling economies and doing whatever for the very few people that actually are, you know what I mean? Like, that's not where I want my money going, or anybody that I think is a normal person wants their money going. But like, why are roads?
Well, that's why I reminded you it's a defense bill. No, that's why I reminded you it's a defense bill. Not just you, but like in general.
I mean,
like
in
the
general,
idea
with all the stuff, all the pork that they have in these bills that they create, I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? I understand that, like, for some people, I don't mind the marijuana thing because I want everybody to relax a little more. But you know what I mean? All the other bills that are out there, maybe that's just like me being more relaxed or whatever, not like that. But in regards to the other bills, where it's like it seems to be hurting people, like I said, defense or what other bills can I think of like, that have absolutely not, just tax breaks to what is it, the fossil industry, the fossil fuel industry, all this stuff. I'm like, why are we giving them? How's that helping us? That's it messing up our environment more. I see these ads for Exxon. Let me keep this short because I know we're going off topic. But I see ads for like Exxon up there, and I'm like, I heard like not too long ago that Exxon spill in the Gulf or whatever it was still isn't fully closed. You know what I mean?
No, that's fully cleaned up. That was gonna take. It's gonna take 20 years. It literally said they said it was gonna take 20 years.
I heard it was still open though. I mean, maybe it's not leaking as bad as it was, but I mean, like, nobody's talking about it. It's not important anymore. Why? Because they feel like it's not affecting anybody. But I'm sure a lot of people are getting cancer from the fish that are swimming through it. I don't know, man. Just the priorities are screwed up. We need to get, like the other person said on Twitch, we need to have term limits. I think that's what they were talking about, right? Like certain age restrictions.
You're talking about age term limits specifically.
Yeah. There's got to be something because some of this nonsense is, plus it's like people become more and more loyal to their donors the longer they're in there. You know what I mean? And they find loopholes that they can, screw us over and benefit their donors more. And I'm not cool with that. I think people need to have certain term limits that don't allow people to get too comfortable. Unless they're doing a good job and whatever, and they're getting reelected for doing a good job, great. But it has to be to a certain extent. Anyway, go back to whatever. I'm blabbing.
No, we're good. That's pretty much it. I have no reason to go. I have no reason to go back to Mitch McConnell. That's all I gotta say. I have no reason. Like, we know
turtle.
that
middle-aged mutant Ninja Turtle.
Everybody just knows he's the worst. It's so ridiculous how long he's been there as well. Him and Lindsey Graham. So,
He's
let's
getting voted
let's move
back
on.
in. That kills me.
Yeah,
That people
he
actually
got voted
bring
back
him
in.
back.
But
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
he had a weak candidate against him. He had a very like center line Democrat against him, and they thought that would work. It's just not going to work. You have to get somebody fiery, somebody who takes the base of Kentucky, which is possible. They're one of the few states that have had kind of a progress with Medicare and basically extending the ACA. That's it. You know, like they actually kind of could be purple if there was compassionate and real people for office right now, and there's nobody in Kentucky that's really running. So that's how it is right now. Let's move to Brexit because we don't need to get stuck on Mitch McConnell. Let's not get stuck on McConnell.
Not at all.
So maybe let's go to me for a second there, just to see the foolishness that we have. So UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president, reached a deal after 9 months to finally have Brexit closed for negotiations, culminating in haggling on Christmas Eve over fishing rights, which heavily, when you read about this, is heavily about rights for areas. So it's like a territorial kind of environment that we're living in right now. Giving a temporary deal to share data among countries as well. Little into promote services. Sorry about that. So late Wednesday evening, Parliament's upper chamber, the unelected House of Lords, also backed the deal. It will become British law within hours. And the UK left the EU almost a year ago. So everybody should know all of this information at this point. If they don't, then basically what we're talking about is kind of territorial rights in areas. If you want to go back up to me.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Sorry,
nope. There you go. No, I got it. No, that was my fault. It was actually delayed on my fault. So basically, little is to promote the services marketed in the UK, and it will leave the Britain market GDP 4% lower. Food products will need certificates that will create more bureaucracy, and Britain will also restrict more given subsidies to match some of the EU's rules. So I'm not sure what you know about this, but what do you feel about a lot of the marketplace in the world right now being substantially shifted to China's market, the US market, and now them wanting to shift the market in the UK away from the EU? The idea is to get them more sovereignty as a state, even though it's like 52 to 48 that voted for it, mind you. So it's pretty split. It's not like this was like agreed upon in the state of the different sovereign states of England, because you have to remember Scotland is in there too. North Scotland. So
at the end of the day, they just want to get more of the pie. At the end of the day, they want to like split apart so that they can, and at the end of the day, make more money and have more power amongst themselves. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and some of the disagreement too is that actually farmers, for instance, you will take a loss first. So Britain will take a loss from this first for a couple years. The fishing market had a lot to do with this because basically the areas that have more fish was also having the Dutch and other countries come in and fish in their area. So basically it's a boon for the fishing market. But for instance, the farming market, they're going to have to send more goods back and forth, and they're going to have to go through more tariffs, more paperwork. And basically, it's interesting because this is watching, like, for me, it's the red versus the blue still. And it's the Labour Party for them. And basically, they're more conservative house, which has Boris Johnson. And they're being split 52 to 48 is pretty much like America right now. So I see it's the same thing. Like, I would love to be in Britain and be able to go to France at any point. Now they're going to make it so that you can't just do that anymore. And it's been almost 50 years. It was 1973 that they joined the EU.
I think it's like you said, because like we were talking earlier about like the whole race thing and everything else. Like it very much reminds me of like what's going on here. You know, like when we were talking about race and politics and how it kind of affects things. I don't like it. I honestly wish that there was more ways for people to be able to stay united and keep things and fix things before, instead of taking drastic steps to separate and kind of like say I'm going to build my own thing now, and I'm taking my toys home, or I'm doing this. I feel like in a way it's how can I explain this? I feel like it's going to negatively impact a lot of people indirectly. I don't.
It's exclusionary.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
exclusionary. It's like
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
trying. I mean, it makes sense to me that they're trying to create as much income after a collapse in their market. So it makes.
My son came running in with his ice cream like.
I tried my best.
No, I try to stay serious too, but I seen him in my in the picture like while I'm watching. I'm like, this other kid looks crazy. But go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no,
Family, man.
honestly,
Like,
this is kind of a dry story. This is just more telling you about the 660 billion pounds in annual trade between the two sides, which is 100,000, hundreds of thousands of jobs. Honestly, this is like they Brexited at the worst time. I'm assuming that if coronavirus was there when they voted, then we would have a completely different vote because we wouldn't want the Britain wouldn't want to be excluded from the EU at that point. Except maybe they would, and that's maybe we just have that many. I don't want to call them crazy because I think that this is their country and they specifically know if somebody from England was to tell me leaving the EU was a terrible thing, then maybe I would give it more credence. But I haven't heard that. I've heard more that this is a short-term gain for Britain, looking for a long-term gain, but it honestly just might disconnect them from the people.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
very important to keep the people of Europe connected, in my opinion. I hate
yeah,
to tell people China is going to be a big entity really soon. Like they're going to bum rush the market, and with real goods, with real manufactured goods, they already have in most ways. And they're going to just be a more stable country. And if you don't have a real European Union, yeah, Russia's going to come in too, because Russia has been waiting for that the whole time. And I am not even conspiratorial about them, except for the fact that they have had authoritarian administrations in there for almost 20 years. I didn't realize that Putin has been in there since 1999, and I believe the current, let me get this exact date, the Chinese president has been in there for a while as well.
mm. What's
Yeah,
crazy
Xi
is they
Jinping.
said I was listening to a talk show about photography stuff, since I do photography and all the other stuff, right? And they're talking about like right now a lot of people, they're lowering their prices so they can get as much of the market as they can, but in 2021 prices are probably going to go up on equipment, and they're going to use like really like petty reasons to, oh well, this thing has this certain technology or that technology, and eventually a lot of like for flashes and certain things, they're going to go to China for their manufacturing, and they're going to rebrand it as if they're American stuff, so they can get cheaper merchandise. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm hearing is going to happen. I don't know if it's guaranteed or whatever, but to me, a lot of it makes sense because they screwed things up so much here. If they would have given people money, we could have spent money, bought the things that we needed, and so on and so forth, and reinvested back into this country. But because they're not doing that, that cycle stopped, and now these businesses are going to have to come up with solutions that are going to hurt us more. The prices of goods are going to go up, as well as we're going to get a lot of out of the country manufacturing like we've always had, but it's not going to be a lot as many things in house as it should be in theory. You know what I mean? And I don't know. China's definitely going to be doing this thing, and you can't really totally hate on China because they're doing what they had to do. Like I'm not proud of their government, but you know, at the end of the day, they made the decisions that seem to be working. We're not, and they're doing better as well, right, than we are in the COVID, right, at the moment, right?
That's
Or
that's an arguable thing. Do you? I almost feel like we should hold Zhang Zhan until Wednesday.
mm,
Um, COVID is an interesting, but I will at least talk about it tangentially. COVID is doing better in most of China, but there's a lot of contradicting news reports when it comes to that.
mm,
There's certain areas that have rise like outbreaks in certain areas and it keeps going flaming up and down, but the numbers are pretty in line with ours, a little bit lower to be honest.
mm.
They have a higher, but they also have a higher population.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have a more dense population in a lot of specific cities as well. um, I wanted to say that a Chinese citizen journalist has been arrested for multiple ones. There's actually four of them that I could talk about, but one of them is facing backlash from the Chinese regime for covering coronavirus in Wuhan. She was actually out there, interviewing people out on the
Mm.
streets, and they decided that she was obstructing. What was the terminology they use? They have a very specific terminology for it. Um, Let me see if I can find it.
She got four
Oh,
years,
okay.
right?
Yes. Picking quarrels. Picking quarrels. That's the why I was looking for it. Picking quarrels and provoking trouble is what she got challenged. Yeah. Found guilty on that, which is
Just like our
insanity to me.
country, just like our country, if we protest, we're picking quarrels and, oh my God, that's the logic between some of these like authoritarian,
Regimes.
governments.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Like, oh, you can't do that. You can't start. You're riling people up. People are gonna get hurt. I'm like, who's gonna get hurt? Me or the people that you're already punishing? I don't know. It's crazy, man. The fact that
Yeah.
you can't protest, this is supposedly the land of the free, and you can't give somebody your opinion or try to make a suggestion to better things. And I saw something today. Oh my God. So Nancy Pelosi or whatever, supposedly, I think she won the speaker again today.
Speaker. Yeah. She
I
became the
think she,
speaker again. Yeah.
yeah, so she got that again, right? And she was
Hmm.
talking all this junk about, oh, we're gonna be able to have voices and everybody, um, we'll be able to have opinions and talk about this and do that and whatever. I'm looking at her, I'm like, this is the same woman that supposedly doesn't want people saying certain things that are progressive, like you know what I mean, like basically to stay in our lane or whatever. Like to hear her say that's like a smack in the face, and like these authoritarian governments, she might not be doing it as bad as China and all that, but a lot of these politicians, her and a bunch of other people, they don't want anybody to have an opinion on their decision making. You know what I mean? Or to protest any decisions, that they had done, and it's negatively affecting us, like with healthcare or whatever it is. We can't say anything. We can't say nothing about Medicare for all. We can't do anything, and I don't know, man. To me, I think that's ridiculous, especially if we're supposedly the better of the countries that should be able to speak and have the freedom of the press and all that other stuff. Now we got Trump screwing things up, making the press questionable. You know what I mean? Like everything is now
But that lends
questionable.
heavily
And
that lends heavily to the narrative of what American exceptionalism. So,
yeah,
like, I would even say that has a lot more to do with the narrative of being an American, in a United States American to be specific too.
yeah,
People forget that America is Canada and Mexico as well, um, and
yeah,
Central America if you're really going to be pertinent
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Um, so I I don't know. I'm not surprised. I want to be surprised. I'm not surprised by any of the things that happened right now. Um,
I want them to say,
Pelosi,
let's. I just want them to say, "Oh, that's a good idea. Let's give it a vote." Oh, that's a good idea. I want them to do that. I don't want them to shoot it down like, "Oh, that's not realistic. That doesn't make sense. That's too much money." I'm like, dude, like all these years, all these people are having issues, And I haven't seen you come up with a solution yet. Trump talks about how he's got a new healthcare system, or all these other people, and years go by, nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, you got your argument, but you're not providing us with any solutions. You tell us we can't have what we want, but you're not changing anything or fixing anything. You know what I mean? And to me, it's like a person in school who's supposed to bring in their homework assignment, and they come in with excuses every freaking day. You know what I mean? Oh, I didn't I did my homework, and I know what the answer is, but I forgot it at home. Okay, bring it in tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you guys are full of shit. Excuse my language, but you know what I mean. At some point, we need to call them on it. We need to call all these politicians on it, and it doesn't have to be a riot. It doesn't have to be a huge protest. We got to start voting them out or doing whatever it is that needs to be done once we see the BS start showing itself. And a lot of these politicians are blatant. Now it's blatant, man. Before it was more like undercover and whatever. Now it's just like blatant. Like, I don't know, man. Like, if you can't see it, I don't know what to say, man. I mean, I know you could see it, but I know a lot of people in this country turn a blind eye to a lot of this stuff because they're like, well, they're educated. They're there for a reason. They're doing this.
They're busy. They're made. I mean, this is like the system at work. This is you're made to be in hyper busy or hyper productive, in whatever form it is. Maybe job, be home, whatever reason they can to make it as obtusely hard for you to live. And the system functions on that ability to leverage your work, basically. And I don't even want to say it's a governmental thing. I just think it's a person by person thing where people have been using people this way for so long. And unfortunately, like, what I want to really talk about is how that has powered people, keeping the people down, not necessarily just the government entity. Like, that's the harder thing to talk about. The real discussion should be about the powerful who are keeping all of these other legislations out of real legislation. The super PACs that exist, the huge campaign finance reforms that we need, that we don't allow people to continuously receive tons of money from corporations, just in general. Honestly, I think that is fundamentally the first thing that we have to do. But that's also a personal opinion. There's other things that people have put out there that would fundamentally change how we think about things, including human and health services, which I think I fundamentally believe that if Trump hadn't screwed the pooch so hard on COVID, he probably would have been reelected.
Yep.
And I always kept it optimistic. I know a couple people that I know that were like, he's gonna get reelected. He's gonna get reelected. They live in the South mostly. He's gonna get reelected, and I was like, no, there's a chance. I was pessimistic inside. I just knew that he's not a smart man, and I kind of just felt like it was possible because he was not a smart man. He did not know how to play the game well. I'm more afraid of the people who can play the game well. And honestly, when you wanted to talk about Ted Cruz and them, that's a smarter man. Ted Cruz is a smarter man. He's less amicable. I don't think people really like Ted Cruz. Nobody really likes Ted Cruz, but he is a smart politician. And he knows that right now he can play both sides of the aisle again and pretend like he didn't get his ass handed to him by Trump back in 2016 and be like, I'm your biggest supporter. And if I just do this biggest supporter thing for a little bit longer, then I'll keep that crowd. As long as I keep that crowd, we're good, right? And that's the real dirty politics of it, is that it's these people holding on to populations of people. They're just trying to keep, and that's why it was important to talk about why it's important to call ourselves progressive or not. Because there is a slight difference between
like labels. They have to have labels, and to be like, look, this is what I'm in. This is what I'm categorized as. It sucks, man, because at the end of the day, then you got a group against that. You know what I mean? Oh, you're a socialist, you're a communist, this, that, and whatever. But I'm like, no, but see, I'm not trying to be a dictator or an authoritarian like some of these other people were. I just like certain policies and certain things that happen in certain environments um, over other environments, and it's okay to do that. It's called taking something and molding it into something else. Like we could take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and create something wonderful, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that. It's like a multiracial family. People say you gotta stick with your own kind. That mentality is just as ignorant as the same political mentality of I can't understand another person's point of view or this that. It's like it's a cultural like religious like whatever like all those different mentalities that contradicts the other one like oh it's mine or the other mine is better, mine is the way it is. That mentality is what keeps people from becoming something better at the end of the day. And I'm open to libertarian views, conservative views, progressive views, centrist, whatever whatever you want to label it as. I'm open to it as long as it makes sense at the end of the day and that it benefits the people at the end of the day. That there isn't a at the end of the doing whatever it is decision making that you're doing, it doesn't negatively impact a huge mass of people. I'm not saying that everything's perfect because something's always gonna affect somebody either negatively or whatever it is if you don't see it coming. But if your intention is to minimize hurting others and maximizing helping others, then I have nothing wrong with that view, or at least giving it a try. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They my way or the highway. Screw you, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like screw you and your beliefs. That's communism or that's this. I'm not. It's not cool, bro. It's and I look at my son's future, and I know that these people have more control of it than I do. At the end of the day, I can only teach them how to care and love and be good to people. I can't teach them how to. I can teach them to some ways adapt to some of the BS that's out there, but there's always going to seem to be somebody that's always going to try to throw a wrench in the machine. You know what I mean? Somebody that's always going to try to be like, I got to get mine, son. I don't care. I'm gonna like maximize my profits. Dude, you're a billionaire. Why do you got to maximize? Like, why does Trump do what he's doing if he's so rich? You're like, why does he feel like he has to do that? Why can't he be a good person? But that's not his mentality. That's not his MO. You know what I mean? That's not how he lives. And
Well, I can tell you why. The why is easily he just has never been a person that has had to take responsibility at all for his faults or actions. So whenever at this point he's beyond the point of saving because he's a 71-year-old man. I mean, he's in his 70s, right? Yeah, he doesn't care anymore. He stopped caring except for what his 74. Yeah,
I think
I believe that. I believe that. Yeah.
But either or, yeah, you're right. He's at that page. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. You're right.
He's at the point where he doesn't care anymore about anything except for what his legacy will be, and that's the only thing. And that's what happens to a lot of presidents as well. Let's just be honest. But to him, it's even worse because he's just never been a good business person, even though he obviously says that he is or not. And there's a whole contingent of people who believe he is. So that's just it. He's just that much of a grifter. I mean, for lack of a better term, he's a grifter that has done such a good job of it for the last at least 15, 20 years, maybe longer than that. You can go in the 90s, really, but I think that his successful grift was Celebrity Apprentice, putting himself back on the mainstream screens, basically.
You know Gary V, right? Gary Vaynerchuk? You ever heard of him?
No.
All right, Gary V
the name sounds familiar.
He's a person that talks about. He's a motivational speaker about like businesses and getting out and doing your own thing and whatever it is. Like he's one of those type of guys, right? He's relatively famous at this point, and he's been around for a minute. One thing that he said was the thing that really made him think a certain way was seeing elderly people become old and then live with regret, right? I don't think this guy, and I can see that, like, because I see as I'm getting older, I look at my life, and it's making me want to do better because of the fact that the regret that could become happen, start happening down the line. So now I'm trying to hustle now, so that when I'm older, I have less and less regret because he says that's the worst, most depressing thing he's ever seen, is seeing like an elderly person in a home who didn't have enough money to survive and made a lot of bad decisions and whatever. Like you said with Trump, he's never experienced a lot of that stuff. And I feel like because he hasn't, it's caused him to think in a certain way that if maybe if he had more struggles and more things in his life, then maybe he would be like, you know what, I could be a better person. I could do more things and whatever else. I don't think he's ever had the moment in his life where he can reflect on his stuff and it really mattered to the point where it's got him so depressed. I think what depresses him more than anything is all the narcissism or whatever feelings that narcissistic feelings that he has about himself. Like it's like if I become a bum later, then this, that, and whatever. So he's thinking about preserving what he has instead of trying to better
Hmm.
himself. You know what I mean? And that's to me a huge, huge mistake in life. Preserving things, sometimes you need to be broken down to see where your faults are in order for you to um, build yourself into something stronger and better. Like the foundation has to be strong. If you created a shitty foundation, you're always gonna fall on your face. You know what I'm saying? You're always gonna screw your life up or whatever it is. Now, sometimes you can't go back and fix your mistakes. Okay, I get that, and that's when you live with regret. But I feel like okay, I screwed up. I'm making progress now because I'm starting to fix things. I don't think Trump has ever had that, and I think a lot of these politicians, they were either born into wealth or inherited this or did that or whatever it is, or just had like certain privileges given to them where they don't really get it, and they don't understand that some people are literally trying their hardest from day one and they never achieve anything because they don't have the options or the opportunities to achieve those things, and they're always going to live with regret. They're always going to feel pain. They're always going to be sad. And then you got to hear these politicians all look, pull up your bootstraps, do this, like that
See,
does nothing
what's
for them.
interesting is that I think it's not just the politicians that you're talking about. You're really talking about the
It's
media conglomerates as well,
yeah,
because a
people
lot
would
of those
yeah.
people are heirs.
Mm-hmm.
A very large, like there's a, I mean, Tucker Carlson,
Mm-hmm.
Anderson Cooper. I mean, I actually have nothing. No, I have nothing bad to say about Anderson Cooper, to be honest. I actually get that he's just like he's a rich kid. He was a rich kid, and he got to do stuff. And but he seems to have at least some kind of modus
Gauge.
operandi where he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, he can gauge everybody else's life, and then he lives something.
yeah, yeah.
But Tucker Carlson is a great showing of that. He's had money all of his life, and he literally just harps on people who are poorer than him. That's his whole line of thinking, is that other people should not be taking from the upper class, because how dare you? And that's how he runs his show. I mean, it makes
Like I
sense to
get to
me, but
I get to
unfortunately, it's
choose
gross.
I get to choose when I want to donate some of my money. I
Yes,
you're not obligated to any of my money. This is my money. This is what I've earned,
yes.
even though my father's father earned it. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, bro. I'm like, all right, man. Whatever, man. Like it's like that's the mentality that we're dealing with. People that can't, like we said, gauge or see things from a perspective of another person, or understand the benefits of helping these other people. Like if people can work and provide more to the society in a better way, this place would be amazing. Could you imagine this planet if everybody had decent jobs, was healthy? You know what I mean? We wouldn't, like, you know what I mean? People would have less to complain about. There'd be less wars. There'd be less need for all this other crap. Like, we wouldn't have in the future, God forbid, fight for water and stuff. You know what I mean? We wouldn't have to worry about all these crazy things that because of greed screwed it up for us. Greed made these problems. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with you conserving your money and trying to hold on to it. But when you're doing destructive things with it, or putting people down for not having it, there's a sickness in that, man. And I don't know. I don't know. What's up? You reading something? It looks like you're reading something.
No, I'm just getting ready for the next one.
Oh, I thought somebody was twitching this. I
Yeah,
was like,
just
yeah,
take
yeah.
it.
I like when
No, I'm
people
just paying
I like when
attention.
people talk to us, man. It's good that we're starting to see people interacting, man. We got to get that chat room up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, if you get the chance, please follow and subscribe.
Please,
Things
definitely.
that we need to make people know about. Hit that bell. Apparently, that's the lingo,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep.
I got used to that. I got to get used to that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
Like and
we could even talk
subscribe.
about it a
Yeah.
little bit right now. Where this is right between. Honestly, I think we should just hold this other. I want to get more research on this topic, so I'm going to do the Ticketmaster.
Okay.
I want to do a nice cool down because
Okay.
finally Ticketmaster has to pay something. Ticketmaster is basically the devil for most people who like to go to concerts at all. So Ticketmaster has to pay a $10 million fine for hacking a rival company, a subsidiary of maybe if you want to throw it to me.
Oh, you want me to? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So Ticketmaster has to pay a $10 million fine for hacking a rival company. Um, Basically, Ticketmaster repeatedly accessed the computer systems of one of its competitors without authorization. The online ticketing company agreed to the fine after being charged with 5 counts of computer intrusion and fraud by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, the Justice Department said Wednesday. So what they did was kind of crazy. They got an ex employee. I'll just read it through. So what they did was a subsidiary of Live Nation um,
It was
stole the
Live
information
Nation.
to get it in.
It was Live
It
Nation
is a
that did it.
subsidiary of Live
Oh
Nation.
wow, wow,
Yes. Ticketmaster
wow,
is a subsidiary of Live Nation.
wow.
So the company used the stolen information to gain an advantage over CrowdSurge, which merged with Soundkick in 2015 and later was acquired by Warner Music Group in 2017. By hiring a former employee to break into its tools and gain insight into the firm's operation. The antitrust lawsuit was filed against Live Nation Entertainment in December 2016, specifically in Ticketmaster's division. It was later amended to accuse the stealing. Excuse me. It was later amended to accuse them of stealing of trade secrets by means of former SoundClick employees. So basically, they were using the past SoundClick employees to get as much information from the office as they could. They used a system of URLs that were hidden in the web pages to maintain a spreadsheet with every artist Soundkick was working on with pre-sales. And then Ticketmaster could then contact those artists to try to persuade them to sell the tickets through Ticketmaster instead. So basically, they were basically going under the ship and diving in and taking people away from Soundkick. Um, and it wasn't Soundkick at that point; it was called Crowd Surge at that point. But it's still illegal. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to take former employees and have them go into a office, go into basically their office tools that they probably have some kind of access to if they know enough passwords. You know, if they have enough clearance, they probably will still get in there for a while.
Yeah. They might have their user knocked off, but they might have other passwords to infiltrate their system somehow. Yeah, that's wow, wow,
I mean, they
wow.
pled guilty to it. In 2019, Zaidi pled guilty, who is the head of not head of Ticketmaster, but that specific area division, pled guilty and related to conspiring to commit computer intrusions and wire fraud for participation in the scheme. So I mean,
Yeah.
this has been a long time coming, but it's good to see that Ticketmaster finally gets a $10 million fine for something.
Yeah, they were, I was reading an article. It was something I was thinking of sending you, where they actually send people in to see how vulnerable uh their systems are. They'll have people. I think it was an AT&T person or whatever they were talking about. How he had like the badge. It wasn't even a legitimate AT&T badge. He'd walk into like certain stores or whatever it is, say that he was a tech, get information from the computers, on jump drives or whatever it is, just to see how secure their system was, how the people were handling, handling people coming in that didn't come with the proper authorization to come in, and people were coming in and they were taking people's information, like the phone numbers and the people that own the phone. So if they wanted to, they could have accessed the phone. It was luckily it was just a privacy thing or whatever it was, to see if they can get it. They weren't actually stealing it, thank God. You know what I mean? But it goes to show you this is like something similar where it's like you get the right people in the right space. You know, you can go in there. I'm surprised the dude they didn't lock the dude
It's
up,
Mike
right?
in Better Call Saul.
Yeah, man.
They did not lock him up, but they did not lock him up yet.
Wow.
He just pled guilty to it, so it was a wire fraud charge. So he probably got probation.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
What I
Uh,
was he's Mike. He's Mike in Better Call Saul. Basically, I don't know if you've seen it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah,
just
yeah,
walks right in. Yep.
yeah, yep, yep, yep. Wow. Wow, man. You know, this world, like security wise, like I don't play games when it comes to my passwords. I don't play games. I'm not saying I'm the most, best password protected place in the world, but I do my best to try to keep everything that I have secure and to myself. And because nowadays I've had my credit cards been tampered with. I still feel like I've been violated. I feel like my social security is somewhere out there. You know what I mean? I feel like I don't know,
Oh,
man. It's pretty scary, man. I mean, they'd be disappointed to see how like my credit and everything is, but yeah, that's pretty crazy out there, man. And it's only gonna
I
get
mean,
worse.
this is more about even espionage. This is espionage between companies. So this is not even our personal information, which they probably could have had access to. It doesn't look like they spread out any of that kind of information, but it's not like Live Nation and Ticketmaster don't have a kind of
Database of
dark
everybody.
history.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
dark history of none of losing information, of actually being hacked and losing information that way.
It's crazy about these Ticketmaster places and stuff. If people don't throw concerts and all that certain thing, a lot of times they hold your money. Like I've heard situations where
Yes.
they'd have a concert in certain situations cause the concert not to go through or something happened, and you won't get a refund. And I'm like, that's screwed up, man. So I'm like, in a way, it's kind of funny that like, all right, well now you screwed yourself. You got greedy, and it sucks that they did it now because I'm sure they're losing a lot of money because of COVID and everything, right? So
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
no,
know.
it's a huge consequence of COVID actually. There's a lot of people who I know. Like I have money that Live Nation is holding.
Uh,
But I hope that the festival will happen in September of next year. I have no assurities and I will get my money back if that doesn't happen, but a lot of people have had Ticketmaster and Live Nation hold their money
mhm.
and wait until the concert was supposed to happen, and then they got the refund after that. Um, it's
So the
not.
concert,
It
the
really
concert
depended
hasn't
on.
happened. It hasn't happened yet, or is it like what's the
Oh,
situation?
the one that I'm waiting for is a festival. The one that I'm personally waiting for is a festival that is. It's Bonnaroo. It's in Tennessee. Um, they moved it back to September of next year.
Next
Of
year,
this
okay.
year. It's 2021 now, right?
Yay!
Yeah. So let's just like be honest. They moved it back from June because they were like, I'm not sure that COVID will even allow that because I believe that we need to get up to at least 50% of the country by May, or we're in serious trouble still of vaccines. We need 50% of the population or more vaccinated. I don't even know if that'll happen. So
Like you were saying
I'm
before,
I'm making a bet. I'm making a bet basically.
yeah, yeah. You said before, like they were talking about the rate we're going. It'd be 10 years before we all get vaccinated. They said hopefully they'll step it up with Biden. I hope it's not 10 years. That'll be freaking crazy. But I don't think it's gonna be 10 years. I think they're gonna eventually step things up. You know, but
Yeah.
just like everything else is going to be super delayed, right? Like, they say, oh, we're going to get our checks. We're going to get this. We're going to get that. And like 9 months later, okay, where is it? Finally, a check. It's half of what they gave us last time. Okay, whatever. So let's see what they do with these vaccines and everything else. Hopefully,
Well,
they said there's another vaccine that's quicker to produce and it's more stable in less cold environments. I don't know. I got to do more research on it, but I heard something about that. I'm hoping that that's true because then that can expedite some of this stuff. But we'll see.
yeah, the Moderna vaccine is actually doesn't need to be refrigerated at the same low temperature. Um, doesn't mean the efficacy. I think the efficacy is like 5% less, but that's not that much. That's not statistically relevant. 95% versus 90% isn't statistically relevant.
Yeah.
Especially for that, because they that's a percentage between like a small group of people. So the bump could be like 2 to 3% between either of those studies. Um, we'll see. We'll see. Honestly, you're right. Like those Moderna vaccines are going to be really important because they do not need to be refrigerated at that level. I know that my mother has spoken about it. And a lot of this has more to do with what job you have.
Yeah.
And that's really what is negative about the way our system works is that capitalism is going to take the forefront on this. And we need somehow a social program to take the forefront on this and be like, no, you should be able to get a vaccine right now. You should be able to get a vaccine. You should be able to get a vaccine. And yes, I know, for instance, like if you're an older person with a compromised immune system, you're most likely going to be able to get it in the first 2 months.
Yeah.
But if you're just somebody with a disability, I have a differing ability. I have epilepsy. I don't have any idea when I will be able to go get a vaccine. And I should probably be getting a vaccine within the third or fourth month, right?
Yeah.
I'm hoping. But I'm more assured that a job will get me the vaccine faster than that.
Yeah.
So when work returns, I'm sure somebody will ask me, have you gotten the vaccine? We have this availability to get the vaccine. And that's what I'm kind of reality waiting for, in reality.
Yeah. Me, on the other hand, I'm gonna wait a while, and I'm gonna isolate myself until I see the results. My sister got the vaccine because she's a nurse, which is good.
That's good.
Now I could see exactly like how. I don't want her to be a guinea pig or anything like that, but I'm happy that she got it because it's gonna help her. But at the end of the day, it's just like I'm patient, man. Like I don't really, I'm not around a lot of people. I'm just around my family. Hopefully, they could, keep their contact with other people low until the opportunity, comes for the vaccine for them. Um, I don't know, man. There's just I don't count on anything anymore until I start seeing them really going die hard. Like we feel like we want things to change. I government and capitalism and whatever else, the things that are going to make this a pain in the ass is um is the things that are keeping me from like having faith that it's going to happen effectively or quickly or whatever it is. The other thing I was going to say was when you were talking about why am I having a brain fart? When you were talking about all right, we're talking about vaccines. We're talking about family. I'm sorry. I'm getting tired now at this point. I done all that other stuff earlier today. Um.
Mhm.
Oh, how quick we're gonna get everything right? Like I feel. How can I put it? I feel like you were talking about having some social type of thing to make it happen or whatever it is, like a
Mhm.
system
A
in
social
which.
organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how do like in my mind, like how does that happen, right? Like how do we? Oh man, I don't know how to word this, man. Like I know what I'm trying to say, but I had it clear, but I didn't want to interrupt you before. We're not. I don't think. Damn. Let me just shut up.
No, it's okay.
I,
I'm
I,
wondering
I,
what your question is. That's all.
no. It's just like I don't see it happening anytime soon. Like for a lot of people, right? I feel like they should give. This is what I wanted to get at mainly. They should give people money that don't need to be at work to stay home, so that they could lower the curve. And then the ones that have to work, they need to be getting the vaccine. The people that need the most contact, like the people doing the shipping and receiving, the people. That's the approach that I think should be the most effective way of keeping people from getting sick. Because if people are home and they're isolated and they have enough money to do whatever, and they should give these essential workers extra money too. I'm not saying don't pay them anything either, but that's the thing. How realistic is that going to be? Like they don't understand that they're going to keep this thing going on longer and longer if they don't do something drastic. And my question was, now I remember what it was. What would be more cost effective? Taking the loss in the front and making sure that everybody did something safe, which they should have done months and months ago, or putting people more at risk and just saying, well, we got the vaccine, go back to work. Even though, like you said, 50% of the country isn't going to have it for like God knows how long. You know what I mean? Because you know that like their goal is to keep people, you know what I mean?
So that's the real contention there. The real contention there is that I believe that the government actually could do this at a faster clip. The problem is that we don't have the same systems that we did. Even somehow back in the 1947, when smallpox came to New York City, they vaccinated millions of people within a month. The problem is that right now we're living in a system of corporatism or capitalism where only times that anything is open because the federal government isn't paying extra for people is there's no 24/7 vaccinations. Like they had 24/7 vaccinations during the smallpox epidemic in 1947. So we can do those things now. It's just the fact that we need to have a real campaign for it. The honest truth of it is, too, there's no incentive to do that. Yeah. There's no monetary incentive for the pharmaceutical companies want this out, and they're not trying to make a profit off of it. Apparently, it doesn't look like it, but there's not a cost-effective way for them to send out this much vaccination and be the ones that pay for all the people who have to give the vaccinations. And that's one of the huge parts. The federal government should be paying organizations out there to go get more people vaccinated and get them in the storage facilities. I mean, that it becomes more of like, that's why I'm saying an organization probably has to get involved that wants to do just that and just focus on going to different regions and being like, okay, there's a old folks home. Let's just say, let's go with all the bad terms. Old folks home over here. Let's go get them all vaccinated. That's it. You know, that's what we're going to do. And it's got to go from town to town to town to town and just do that. And it's the hard work. And the federal government hasn't, I mean, I feel like Trump has dropped the ball on purpose at this point, but that's what would have been the next step once you got an actual vaccine that worked. Would have been to start being like, all right, how do we mandate, not even mandate as in you have to take it, but like, how do we put out a mandate to each state to say, here's this much money, you're supposed to get federal employees out there working, putting out vaccines, or even talking about it. Because the first, you have to keep people aware first. People aren't going to just take a vaccine. They shouldn't just take something, right? So you do an awareness campaign first. And it's pretty short because it's an ongoing problem. Like COVID is everywhere. Like, you know, as I said, my aunt just got it just recently. I mean, you're correct though. I don't know how it'll work out. I do believe that right now, as it functions, the government, our U.S. government, federally, doesn't have an incentive to give us extra money to do this. They should. I think it's cheaper. I think it's way cheaper to do it on the front end.
Yep, you do all that stuff, get people down, you know, like we did it for, what is it, how many months or whatever previously, right? What is it, 2-3 months we did something, like almost, right? Before they started trying to
only 2 months, actually.
It was 2 months, right?
Only 2 months, really.
So, like those 2 months, I think, lessened the curve a lot. Look at how New York went, you know what I mean? New York dropped dramatically during that period of time, or right after that period of time. So it's like if they did that plus the vaccine, it would nip a lot of that in the bud, I think. You know what I mean? And like we just keep doing it until all the people get vaccinated. You know what I mean? Or until like the cases go so down that it's like negligible. But that's crazy, man. We're at 350,000 people dead. You know, they were talking about, oh, it's only going to be 100. Oh, 120. 350, bro. Yo.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You know, and they're like, oh, this is like the flu. I'm like, this is like the flu, man. This is the flu. I'm like, no, dude, it's not the fucking flu. Excuse my language, man, but it's not.
No, I mean, we're on a trajectory. We're on a trajectory to 450,000 at least. by the end of this coming year. Like even if you were to drop off precipitously, like we're in trouble. That's why I'm an advocate for the vaccine, only because I believe in science. I strongly believe in science, and I know that, for instance, I can't not work for this many months. You know, it's killing me as I'm in the media industry. So when it comes down to it, I know that the reason that the vaccines will probably come because of work is because people need entertainment too, and after a while, people kind of go stir crazy without entertainment, and especially now we live in a society that's so used to their screens that it sooner or later it falls to the job, and people will want entertainment, and they need us to create it again, and it will not be fair if only people who are in the union get vaccinated. So it'll become this kind of system where, well, there's a lot of off-Broadway plays, for instance, that need to get back up because those theaters will close, and they're not going to get a full. This bill is not going to help them. For instance, this last bill is not going to help them. It's going to save some stages, probably the bigger stages, but it'll so that's what I'm waiting for, is that it finally just like one brick by brick, and I just got to hope that people get vaccinated and keep wearing your mask, keep doing all the things you got to do to stay away from people for a while. It's going to be another couple months, and it's very difficult because you get fatigue.
It's a very stressful thing, but like as long as you guys like, the thing that depresses me most is the deaths. So like you would think, people would be like, let's do whatever to prevent the deaths, to prevent the hardships. You know what I mean? But people are selfish in this country. That's the one thing that really makes me very upset about the whole thing. I'm annoyed. Everybody's freaking annoyed. I hate wearing the mask. I hate getting out my car, walking like 10 feet, realizing I don't have my mask on, going back to my car. You know what I mean? I hate the fact that every day is stressful, because if my check for whatever work that I do doesn't come in, then what next? You know what I mean? Are these people having problems? Like I have these thoughts, a lot of different stressful thoughts. Are these people struggling? Are they going to go out of business, and one day I'm just not going to get a check even though they owe me money? Like what because people are like that. People will be trying to keep their business going, and then when it finally folds, they'll disappear, and they'll take you with them. You know what I mean? They'll disappear, and you're like, not with them, but you know what I mean? Like they'll forget to pay you, or they won't pay you, or you'll have to go chase your money, or whatever it is. I don't know what to expect or what to trust anymore in regards to my payment and my stability. So what do? I do the best that I can in this situation. But a lot of people, they complain about, I don't want to wear my mask. Oh, this is impinging on this. I'm like, dude, you want it to get worse? Because it seems like what your actions are doing are going to make it worse. And it's stressful, man. And just like you said, wear your mask, clean your hands, do whatever it is to minimize the risk, and just deal with it, man. Because at the end of the day, just like people complain about the little, I'm not gonna say it's little money, it's money, but you spend that money versus going to the hospital. Imagine how much money you're gonna end up having to spend if you get COVID. Imagine the money that like, that's the way I look at the government. Like if they spent that money now to help us now, we'd have a lot more going on for us now, right? But I'm just pissed off, man. This nickel and diming.
I mean, you got to understand something. Everybody's not in the same situation. So for a lot of people too, I believe that 100% with the people who especially are of privilege in some manner, like they still have to work the whole time from home. Yeah. One of the, I hate to say it, like one of the things is that like I can't see my family. I not just can't see my family, I don't have a cluster of friends here that I even would call a pod of people that I could deal with. So it's the psychiatric problems that can occur because of that are real. They're very real. You get very lonely. You get very caught in your own mental health problems. Yeah, so I think it's important to note that you can't just deal with it. But there are a lot of people who are
No, I mean that's an
They have
exception, obviously.
they
I
have
don't.
family. No, no, no. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's not about
But
even
you know, you,
like
but you
the
know, like, do you understand my point in that sense, though? Like,
yeah,
I'm talking about the people
yeah.
that still have resources that are complaining. I'm not really talking about the people that like I'm sure if you had a car or you had like certain resources to get you from point A to point B and other things that would make it easier for you to see your family and everything else, you would do it. But I know a lot of it has to deal with the fact that you don't want to put people at risk. You don't want to be in and out of trains and cars or cabs or whatever for absolutely no reason at all if you don't have to, or spend that money. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Like there's people out there with resources that are screwing it over for people, and there's a lot of people out there. I don't. I think there's a huge, still a
Mhm.
decent amount of people out there working and doing what they got to do and surviving, and they're thinking that their lives are being impinged upon. You know what I mean? But in
Mhm.
reality, we're all being impinged upon, and some have it worse. Some people had it worse before this thing. You know what I mean? And like, I just don't like people that they don't look at the whole picture. They just look at their bubble. You know what I mean? And like, I understand where you're coming from with your life. I think you understand where I'm coming from in most cases with my life. You know what I mean? Like we all have our differences and issues. I got my child, I got my girl, I got my mom in New York, I got my sister in New York with her child that I worry about. We all have like and I don't want to belittle anybody by saying it like that. You know what I mean? Because I'm not. I'm just saying we all have our issues. You know what I mean? But some people just got it way worse than others. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't take that serious. They're like, well, stop whining. Pull up, like my favorite word, pull up your bootstraps. You know what I mean? Like it's like everything's gonna be okay. It's like bullshit, and like it doesn't work that way, man. I wish it was, because then I would know that the people I care about are okay. I know a lot of family members and friends that I can't even imagine what they're going through right now. You know what I mean? Like, because I know they're not working or they're not doing what they have to do, and some of them are moving in back with their family and putting their family at risk because they have to still do certain things and live with their family who are older now. And some people are lucky, man. Like you said, people are able to work from home. They even we talked about that too, right? About how now the freaking cities and states are trying to tax people for working at home. Did you hear about that? Like
It was an idea, but nobody. It doesn't seem like I didn't see any follow up on that.
I
Did you
saw
see something?
something. I saw something recently. I don't know if it's like an update or not. I gotta double check it. About Jersey or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I think it was with the double tax thing. Like if you live in New Jersey and work in New York, or vice versa. I think it is. I'm not sure. But now you're working from home. Now you have to get like taxed differently because you're working from home or whatever. Like they want that money instead of the money
Well,
that
that
they
makes
would have, like
well,
they
it's
would.
because they're trying to actually tax the business itself, and that's the thing is that it's not instead of like New Jersey can't tax New York.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the problem. New Jersey can't tax New York's businesses and vice versa. So you end up taxing the employee, which is the worst part of the income tax system.
But you're working at
Um,
home though. What kills me is you're creating less
they're still
carbon
working for a
emissions.
company that's
I
they're still
understand,
working for a
but
company.
but
So
but the money that you're making from let's say you work in New York, you're making that money from New York, you're bringing it back here. New York is getting your tax money, you're getting your tax returns, whatever process that is, right? Yeah, I think you have to still file taxes here anyway, right? But now they want the
yep,
New York money
both states.
instead. They want to get New York's money and the money that they're getting in taxes. Supposedly that's how I understood it. And I'm like, dude, you're not traveling, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Like, let a person live, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're using their own resources, and they're not putting a hindrance on the roads. They're not driving the roads. They're not. They might be. They're still paying the bills that they got to pay. It's just, to me, it's just like the priorities are stupid. You know what I mean? I think that I get it. You
I
want to
think
make
you're
money from.
actually saying that they need pay. You're talking about changing the tax system. That's
They need to
more of
change.
changing the tax system.
But I mean, like they're changing it because now you get to work from home. You know what I mean? Like they're saying that New York shouldn't get any money. That's what I think, that from what I was interpreting it as, that New York shouldn't get any money from the taxes because you're doing everything from New Jersey now, even though you work in New York. And I'm like, I don't understand that. I don't get like how that's like a legitimate case to take the money. I don't know. It's just their priorities. I think they said. Oh, you know why they said that? They were trying to do it because New Jersey's economy screwed up. Like they owe a lot of money. The economy of New Jersey, like they made a lot of bad decisions in the New Jersey government or whatever it is, the state's government, and they're trying to like find ways of like doing things, and the little money that they would even get is like a drop in a bucket basically. So it's like for them to even do it, I don't know. You trying to look it up or?
Yeah, it's a Bloomberg article. I'm gonna have to read it some other
I mean,
time.
I don't want to. I guess I would say I don't want to get too much into it. I just think like
prioritizing. It's one of those things where I was trying to read it, and I got to put up against a wall, an ad wall.
Yeah, it gets me sick that I just think they're prioritizing all the wrong things. And right now, they need to throw all the money at the people. Everybody in this country, get us back on our feet so we can rebuild this country. Now's the time. Like they said, we can't do a Green New Deal. This that they had us locked up for 2 months. Like we said before, the sky was beautiful, the air was clean, everything was looking beautiful, right? Like I was like, wow, man. Like they said the carbon, the air quality was like 1,000 times better, like way more than like they've ever seen, like reverting to a different, you know what I mean? I was like, if that's the freaking case, that just shows and proves that it's possible. You know what I mean? We survived that. You know what I mean? So I don't understand why we couldn't do that. I said years ago, why don't people work from home? I don't understand why people need to be. I understand for certain security reasons with certain companies, you keep certain things in house, but the rest of it, people can work from home. We're working you're at your house. I'm at my house, right? We're doing some kind of work, right? Like why can't it be done that way? That it's all BS, man. It's all I don't know. These rich people.
To be fair, only certain jobs can be done that way. We both don't have jobs that can. Well, you can well, depends if you shift your work, but right now you can't. You have to still go out to different houses and stuff like that.
I mean, my goal is to
for
do
me.
This. Yeah, I'm saying my goal is to help with the live streaming stuff and whatever else. You can even assist me if we set things up correctly, where you could do remote work. There's ways of doing it. Like I could get a Black Magic. I forget the name of the thing for it.
I'm gonna say it. I need contact. I part of the love of my work is interacting with people. Yeah. You can't make a film. You can't make TV. You can make a smaller production with less people, but you still need people to do it, and they really are it keeps me going as a human being. I know that I just know that that's like how a lot of people are. They can't just work at home. Like I'm also saying that they should
go out though. Eventually you can go out though. Like, I'm not talking about forever. You can have a job where you're at home, but you could also still go out once this COVID thing is over. You know what I mean? I'm not saying just everybody stay home and not socialize. You know what I mean? Like if like you could find a business that could work from home. Let's say you had kids or something else in your life that would make it easier and more financially feasible for you to work from home, but yet they want you to come into the office and pay for daycare and do this and that. You know what I mean? To me, it makes absolutely no sense. It's not only hindering your performance because you're getting less sleep and you're doing a lot more to make things happen, but you can still go out and party and do whatever once this COVID stuff is done. You can still socialize. You can still have get-togethers. You can still have people over. You know what I mean? You could go out and still film if you want to, as long as it doesn't conflict with what you're doing. And like I said, it's a choice. You don't have to even have a job like that. But I'm saying, like, in general, it could get to that point, or should have gotten to that point for a lot of people, where they're going into the office doing what they're doing, then they're going back home. They spend 3 hours in transportation. So I know people that come from Pennsylvania all the way to New York every day. You know what I mean? Like what the hell for? Like when you have technology that doesn't, you know what I mean? And they're realizing it now that with this COVID stuff, all this stuff could be manageable. We got Zoom. We got.
I just don't. I don't want to. I don't want to lower the value of work, though. The value of work for people, and sometimes a lot of it is. I guess I have it from a different perspective, because the work that I see people doing now is interpersonal work. Maybe that's just the contrast of being at home all the time now. You know, like what I see is people working at the bodega. I see people working sanitation. I see people working mail. Workings that are like still interpersonal interactions. I don't know if you can just make that all feasible in a structure of not contacting. Look, I think that people should have not contacted each other for months. Like we should have started in March of last year. From March 11th on, I think we should have already done that. But I'm just worried that we're just in a weird situation where we don't live in a system that will allow for that to be the status quo for another 6 months. I think we can only, unless there's a sharp incline, it keeps inclining. If it keeps inclining, then we're talking about something else completely, because that means that then the pandemic is not coming down, and then we have to shut down. I mean, that's just the truth.
Like I said, like if we would have taken our big boy pill a long time ago, right? If we would have done the right thing a long time ago, I think we would have been in a better. If we would have had competent politicians at the end of the day, let's put it that way. We didn't have Trump spewing, "It's safe, it's this, it's that." You know what I mean? Like we would be in a better place, I think, by now. But because he's an idiot, and I'm sorry if anybody watching the show is a Trump fan. I'm not against you. I'm not against Republicans. I'm not against.
Why not?
I'm not against any. What happened? What happened? What you said?
Said why not?
No, I don't want.
I'm more adversarial about that one.
Look. I try to be open minded because I think it's as counterproductive trying to be negative off the bat. When I start seeing I'm talking to a wall, then I'm like, okay, I'm done with you. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel with Trump and a lot of his the cult side of his crew. I'm not going to say the people that support the Republican Party, because some people just support the party and they're doing that because Trump was the head of the party, then whatever. But in regard, and I don't even like belittle that too, because it says a lot to support a racist. But at the end of the day, like if you want your party to win and you have like certain things, like supposedly the whole pro-life thing and everything else. All right, I understand. You have certain things in your life that you want to, you feel like that's the way you live. Okay, cool, whatever. Did you want to support that? Whatever. But at the end of the day, we all need to take our big boy pills, and we all need to do the right things. And we had incompetent people spewing nonsense, and then catching COVID of all things, right? Which I don't even know if Trump really even got it. To be totally honest, there's a lot of people that doubt the fact
he got
that
it.
You think he really got it?
He went to the hospital. Yeah, he went to the hospital. He certainly got it. He did. He got also all of the best. He got all the best preventative care afterwards.
Yeah,
like he got all of the best care.
You don't think that was a publicity stunt? You don't think it's possible?
I don't.
If somebody offered somebody
possible, but I don't. I just
I'll
think
give you $1 million, dog. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't put it past anything. I didn't. When I saw what they did to Bernie during the freaking primaries, I was like, yo, that's some shady shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, man. That was some shit. Something shady went down. I don't know what it was, but something shady definitely went down with Bernie. So I look at it like with politicians. There's a lot.
You need to watch City is So Real. You got to watch City is So Real. You got to see how corrupt a lot of jurisdictions are. I mean, this is old hat politics. What they did was they bum rushed Bernie with everybody else. It happens in Chicago politics all the time, where basically one candidate will then push a bunch of other candidates under the board and be like, hey, if you help me, I'll help you in the next cycle. So that's a lot of what I think happened was, I'll help you in the next cycle, because Biden is the most known non-Obama person. Maybe Hillary Clinton is slightly more known, but a little bit notorious. So that's just my opinion about it. Honestly, I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter if it was a if he made it up. It doesn't matter because the publicity stunt only works if it affected the people, like his own constituency. It's not going to like soften his image. It wasn't going to get him reelected. You know what I'm saying?
You don't think in his little crazy mind, like even like with all the election stuff he's still pulling and everything, in his little crazy mind, he thinks that somehow it's going to benefit him? I don't know, man. I just found a lot of that coincidental. I think Giuliani got it. I really definitely think Giuliani had gotten it, but I don't know.
I mean, there was just a sea of people who got it. There's a sea of people. They all were in the same places, so it makes sense to me.
The only person that I really know that it was Christie, that I feel like like he was like, yo, that joint is real. Like he kept the 100. He was like, put your mask on. Like he kept it real, you know. I don't know if he, for whatever reason, like how it affected him politically, but Christie was the realist one. Is like, yo, no jokes, man. Maybe because he's overweight and he was afraid that it was going to kill him or something. He got scared out of his mind and he was like, okay, I'm going to have to be honest about this one. But so you know, it takes that. I think with Trump, like you said, like if he did have it, he didn't feel like his life was threatened at any point, or you know, he felt like indestructible for whatever reason. But I don't know. That's crazy. Anyway, I know you want to wind down. It's getting kind of late, right? You know what I mean? But everything's good with you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just saying if there's anything else.
So thank you. Oh no, that's it. I don't have anything else. No, I don't have anything else. So thank you for joining us at Growth Mindstate. Please like and subscribe to our videos. Follow us on Twitch, YouTube, Spotify. We'll talk again soon.
Definitely. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.